Hi. Hey there. Oops. Unmute. Hold on. You know what? Hold on a second. Let me
All right.
go live on Facebook. Hold on a second, everyone. All right, it's preparing our live streaming preview, Courtney.
Okay.
I'm going to put in a title.
Bridgette, the title of your book was The Art Cure, right?
That was the first one.
Right, okay.
All right. Courtney, we should be live.
We are live. Hey.
Yay, fantastic. And I also just posted a reminder for everyone on Instagram. So I think you might get a couple of people jumping in.
Perfect.
I've been looking forward to this conversation all week. And I'm going to give people a few minutes to jump in while Courtney is sharing the link to our live video right now.
Yep.
But I am virtually in the house with Dr. G, or Dr. James George. So, hey, Dr. G, say hello to everyone on Art MBA.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you today.
Woo, look at that painting behind you. Where are you filming from with us? Where are you sitting right now?
In my studio, which is in the basement, and the basement is the word, but this basement has 3 windows which allow direct sunlight to come in, so it doesn't feel like a basement or a prison.
It doesn't look like one. It looks beautiful from where I'm sitting. And I have to say, anytime I can get to see an artist studio and see the actual artwork that they're making, makes me so happy. And I think my favorites of your art are the paintings that are larger that are right behind you. I think those are really exciting. And I cannot wait to share with our Art MBA group your story and your process, and do more of a deep dive. And I have a lot of questions for you. And I know you're going to share some really inspiring thoughts with our community. So,
And Bridgette, I'd like to
yes.
introduce my friend, driver, and cameraman, Bob Flacco. Bob is behind the camera.
He's the better looking
Hey, Bob.
one.
Thanks for being here with us today.
And
No, they'll know.
my other friend and art assistant, John Tomasello.
Hi.
Good, John, to see you. And I have a chapter in my book called Finding Your Helpers. And I think you have a great team of people around you. And I know some of them, and I'm honored to every month get to drop in and talk with you about your art career. So you're someone that knows quite well how to build a team around you. So we'll talk about that. But Courtney, how's it looking in the community? Are people?
Yep, people are filtering in, so it keeps increasing. So we have already 20 or so people live, so, and it keeps increasing, so we're good.
Okay, wonderful. Well, I'm going to get started because I know personally, whenever I get on the phone with Dr. G, I could spend hours talking with him, and I want to make sure that we have an action-packed hour together. So everyone, welcome to Wednesday's Art MBA session. Today's a special segment. I haven't featured an artist yet in the past 6 months that I've been working with you guys on Art MBA. And I'm incredibly selective with the people that I like to interview and bring on the program. And Dr. James George, who's with us today, and I love calling him Dr. G, is an incredibly talented artist that found art late in his life. He has a really interesting story that we're going to talk about today. he was involved with emergency medicine for nearly 50 years of his life. But healthcare wasn't his only interest. He actually studied law and medicine simultaneously, and he served as a captain in the U.S. Army Reserve's Medical Corps. He received his undergrad degree from Columbia University, and being the motivated person that he is, he simultaneously enrolled in the University of Louisville Medical School and Law School. So he attended medical school during the day and law school at night. Here I am thinking I'm motivated. I think Dr. G is next level. He completed both of these programs in 4 years, receiving both degrees with honors in the same year. So that gives you a little bit of background into his mental strength and motivation, his ability to organize and stay focused. And I want to ask him about that. And he had a very successful career in medicine. In 2016, his story changed. He suffered a brain and spinal cord injury after he fell in his home, resulting in a coma and quadriplegia. He spent 6 months in, some of you might know, McGee Rehabilitation Hospital in Philadelphia. And into his tenure at McGee Hospital, I think he told me it was about 6 to 8 weeks of him being there. He luckily and fortuitously found art. He discovered a great joy in painting and art therapy. And ultimately, McGee Hospital now has a lot of his early collection that they keep adding to the hospital there. And it's on display for all the patients there to see and be inspired by. And through his process of recovery, he made a partial recovery and has diminished use of his dominant right hand. So he is a left-handed artist. Is that correct, Dr. G?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And one of the things that he shared with me that some of you might resonate with, especially if you've had a challenging time in your life and your career, he had some pretty early dark days in the hospital. He shared that the light didn't go on in his head or his heart for a while. And he recently found some of his early paintings from 2016. He told me they were a little bit dark and scary. As you'll soon learn, he is someone who feels that, and this is quoting him directly, adversity is an opportunity to change your life in many ways. And for any of you experiencing any diversity at this time, my hope is that Dr. G will inspire you and motivate you to be your best. And I can't wait to share our conversation. And Dr. G, welcome.
Bridgette, thank you. And you did your homework very meticulously because
I did my homework, and you know the funny thing is I didn't realize that you were in school getting a law degree and a med school degree at the same time, and that connected a lot of dots for me with how motivated you are to succeed. And I think for a lot of artists, they, at any stage in their career, many people feel frustrated and stressed out about what's happening for them professionally. So the fact that you walked into the art world in 2016 and you've done what you've done up to this point, to me is unbelievable. So could you just share a little bit with the audience, a little bit about your story and your background and your experiences that led you here to be an artist?
well, and I'll try to speak in a nutshell, but I, early on in my life, I didn't know really what I wanted to be. My father wanted me to go to medical school because my uncle was the first and only other physician in the family. He was an orthopedic surgeon. And And during that journey, which was a bit of an arduous mental journey, intellectual journey, I had my challenges with organic chemistry and a couple other courses, which I believe are intended to weed out the weaker people who might be interested in medicine. And so I didn't really know. I was waiting for a lightning bolt to strike me and tell me, what I was going to be. So I ended up applying to medical school, law school, and business school.
Wow.
Got accepted in all three, and then was fortunate enough, while I was at Columbia University, I was fortunate enough to apply to the University of Louisville, which had a program that let a medical student pick a few of their courses. And I assumed, well, I'll go to Louisville, I'll enroll in the medical school, and then I'll also enroll in the law school.
Wow.
So, 2 transcript student, and just pecked away at it and chipped away at it, and then I graduated with both degrees, and then decided, what the heck am I going to do now? And the part of medicine that really excited me the most was emergency medicine. The time in the emergency department, seeing really sick people and some not so sick people, was very stimulating to me. And so that's what attracted me medically. And along the way, I started a law firm that defended physicians and nurses in malpractice suits, and built an organization of emergency medicine physicians, which became part of a national organization called Team Health, in which I'm proud to say I'm one of the 6 founders of.
Wow.
That was my medical career. And then in 2016, in June, I fell in my house, opening the door for the meter reader. I hit my head a couple feet above the wall, hyperflexed my neck, bruised my spinal cord. I immediately was knocked unconscious. The meter reader, who has become a friend, told me I stopped breathing. He started doing CPR and called 911. A couple days later, I woke up across the river in Philadelphia at Jefferson Trauma Center, part of Thomas Jefferson University Health System. And art was in my consciousness. And about 4 to 6 weeks into my experience as an inpatient at McGee Rehab Hospital in Philly, the art therapist, who I don't know if she really how important she's been in my life.
Yeah.
And her name is Julie Nolan. And
Julie Nolan.
Julie Nolan.
Dr. G, tell the story of the first time you saw Julie, because you shared this with me and I thought it was really great.
I was in my hospital room, kind of sitting in my bed, and this slight, tiny, very pleasant young lady comes into my room pushing a Craftsman tool cart, which is how she got on the hospital, art supplies, and so on. And she came in and she said to me, "Would you like to paint?" And I immediately thought to myself, verbalize it, how in the hell am I going to paint? Because I can't use my right hand. But fortunately, I said, sure. And then she began the process of bringing my non-dominant left hand into play with both the palette knife and brushes. And I want to show you some of the early work. When I said it was dark, I mean, here's it. Look at these.
Wow.
And
No,
I'm just,
not as dark as I thought it might be.
well, there's one darker, but I'm having trouble finding it. So,
Dr. G, what do you think made you say sure when she asked you if you wanted to paint?
well, I didn't, I think that she is a genuinely nice person, and why would I say no, you know? But another
Wow, I
pre-history,
like that. Wow.
pre-fall is the fact that I did do a little painting a couple of years before my injury. And I'm happy to say John's daughter, Jacqueline, was my first painting teacher.
Wow, very cool.
And she was dragging me through shading and the color chart,
Yeah.
all disciplines which real artists know about, but none of which was in my head when Julie came in and I started to make different marks on the various.
Wow. Dr.
So,
G, just to back up for a second, you know, what you just shared with us, your story, and, you know, going from, you know, one thing to another extreme and waking up in a hospital bed, not knowing where you are, even what day it was, that must have been a really intense moment for you. And yeah.
absolutely. And I remember my first words, and I'm not going to go over the foul line, but I said,
You can.
what the fuck happened?
What the fuck happened? I would, yeah. Wow.
And, and I was surrounded certainly by my loving family and a number of physicians and others who I'd worked with, and they kept an eye on me and made sure that I was well taken care of. But I'll tell you, when you lose your mobility and you're not thinking clearly and you can't move your arms or legs well, it's a very surreal experience.
Yeah.
And and I met a lot of nice people at McGee and subsequent to that, and it's an amazing journey. It's an amazing,
Yeah.
and I say that in as positive a way
Hmm.
as I can, because
Yeah.
always somebody else who's
Mhm.
a lot worse off than you know?
Yep. Which I think is a good reminder for people nowadays. I'm hearing a lot of interesting complaining, and I think about people that are going through tremendous adversity that don't have the full liberties that some of us have in their life. So I really relate to what you're talking about, that there's always people out there that are having greater challenges. And Dr. G, it's clear to me from knowing your background that your mindset and the way you think about life and things happening is incredibly unique. And you know, it's not a mistake that you're here right now. We're talking, you're sharing your story, and you're a painter, and you're promoting and exhibiting your art, and starting to have clients and people buy your art. So what is it about could you share with people some of your early thoughts and your processes when you were actually accepting what had happened? And this is before you started making art, where you were making decisions on how you were going to be in your life at that point. What were some of the things you were thinking about?
Well, when you're in the hospital for an extended period of time, especially in a rehabilitation hospital, you're thinking about, when am I going to be discharged, and how am I going to live my next phase of my life when I get home? What needs to be done to accommodate me? I'm in a wheelchair. I need a ramp. I don't want to look like a cripple. I mean,
Yeah.
all kinds of thoughts go through your head.
Yep.
So and it's very in front of you kind of stuff. There's not a lot of long range planning.
Yeah. Yeah.
That,
so kind of taking care of the more immediate challenges. And it seems to me from what we've talked about that meeting your art therapist, Julie, and getting started with that, maybe not right in that moment, but over what period of time did that become a pivotal moment for you?
but probably 2 months into my stay at McGee Hospital. And I'll tell you, I started painting, and it was interesting to me, and I had positive feedback. Not the kind of thing where observers say, "My God, you're a wonderful," you know, no bolt of lightning or anything like that. But the funny thing that happened to me was, in addition to all of these things that we've talked about 4 months into my admission, a family member of a patient at McGee accidentally drove her pickup truck into the lobby because the parking is under the building and it's on the same level as the lobby.
Wow.
So they demolished the lobby. A couple of security people were injured. Everybody survived, but they had to reconstruct the lobby. So they did that. And then about a month before my discharge, Julie Nolan came to me and said, the committee for the reconstruction of the lobby would like to hang some colorful art in the lobby. Do you know anybody, Julie? And she said, I think I do. And she asked me whether I would be willing to have some of my art framed and hung in the lobby. And that was not in my consciousness that I would show whatever art I was doing to others.
Wow.
So the next thing I know, I uttered yes, I'd be happy to do that. And that's my first experience with artistic vulnerability.
Yeah.
Meaning, what are people going to think, you know?
Yes.
And what are they going to say, and all of that stuff, which never really experienced before, because I was always well prepared in my work as a physician, and I knew pretty much every shade between white to dark black, and all the gray shades in between. But this was different. The vulnerability piece was actually a little exciting, you know?
Was it exciting?
It was a little exciting.
Yes, I love it.
In a dangerous kind of way.
Yes.
Well, and all that stuff. And I'll just fast forward for 1 minute, Bridgette, and say that I've been a part of your Art MBA program from the beginning, and I've watched other people present, and I've always been intrigued by the long list of artists and others who are part of this community.
Yeah.
And it's a little exciting to be in front of them.
Yeah.
And I have no pretense about my art, but I'm honored to be a part of this community. So I say that with love and respect.
Well, you know what, Dr. G, I think I'm interested in people that are able to overcome challenges in our industry and in their life, and can create something from nothing. And a lot of times when I would consider you an emerging artist in our industry, and you've been working now for almost 4 years, and you have you're very prolific. You have a tremendous portfolio, and you're putting together your art career. You know, you have a history of other work and things that you've done in your life, but you're an example of really starting from scratch with your art career. And I'm very impressed with what you've created already. And I think part of that is your tenacity and your, you know, the thing that I like about Dr. G, everyone, is that he's incredibly personal. He loves people. He's a lover of people. He wants to know who you are. He wants to know your story. He wants to know about your family. And because of that, he's forged some incredible relationships in his life with people who are actually now starting to turn into some of his art collectors and clients, although I think he feels a little bit shy about that. So how does it feel to you to be in this stage of your art career? And I also want to know and hear what you love about making art.
Well, the thing I love about my art, which is abstract art, I'm really excited by colors and combinations of colors and how they look on 140-pound watercolor paper or canvas or wood panels. I do a number of things on larger 3-by-4 foot wood panels. And I just am excited by it. And I'll tell you that, like other artists, I assume, there's an excitement and a challenge to doing something and being rewarded by it in personal gratification. And for me, I have never destroyed a creation that I've made. I've never ripped up a painting. They all feel like my children in a strange way.
Yeah.
And I also, when I'm making the painting, if there's excess paint, and I really only use acrylics because they're easier to clean up.
And they dry fast.
Dry fast, exactly.
Yeah.
That's critical. Well, when I have excess paint on the palette knife or the brush, I go smaller and try to apply that to another painting. And I do that because there's something that feels wasteful about just wiping a pretty good sized blob of paint off of the tool.
Yeah.
That still, all of that is personally rewarding. You know the phrase art heals?
Yes.
And your personal story, Bridgette, with your first book, The Art Cure, it's just another manifestation of how important art is
Yeah.
to all of us.
Yeah.
And the other thing that really rivets me about art and my art is what other people see in the painting when it's done. I'll confess, I don't see what other people see.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about creating a particular image. For me, it's a very spontaneous event. I pick some colors, I stroke them onto the paper or the canvas. So that's so exciting for me. If it was a work, and I know other artists are enormously more disciplined with their art. If it were that difficult for me to be an abstract artist, I don't know that I would have the discipline.
Yeah.
So my art speaks to me. It nourishes and rewards me, not necessarily in an economic way. And I'm able to touch other patients and families and other viewers. And the things they say about what they see in my painting is so exciting to me on a personal level. It allows me to touch other people in a far greater number than I could one-on-one as a physician.
Wow.
So that's just unexpected gift of
Well,
my.
you know, I love how you talked about, first of all, I think sometimes people get so serious about art making that they forget about excitement in art making, the gift of making art, the enjoyment of actually creating a work of art. So I love that you're really in touch with that excitement and the magic of making a piece of art, that it feels nourishing to you and you're rewarded by it. I also love your use of color, which is attractive to me. And I know someone recently asked Dr. George what he's thinking about and what he's going through when he's making a work of art. He talked about how he first looks for colors that excite him in that moment before he applies the paint. And then he looks at the material surface that he will apply the paint to, whether it's wood, paper, canvas, linen, etc. He'll then choose his tool. He works with palette knives, brushes, or both palette knives and brushes. He mentioned that he'll apply his first stroke and look for the excitement that shows him how the colors will mix or mingle, and that kind of dictate the shapes and colors to follow. So that's truly an abstract painter at work. And I'm curious, from the first early paintings you made to now, from you know, the darkness and that scariness and uncertainty to how you're creating now, how has that changed over the last couple of years?
Well, I think my painting has improved. It's just like I like to hear what other people see in the painting. They may see a creature of some kind, or a scene, something that I didn't see before. And so that is exciting to me. And people who have looked at my painting over time tell me that they see a steady improvement in my painting, which is more difficult for me to see doing one painting at a time. But so I take encouragement from that.
Yeah.
And then, you asked the question a short while ago about how do I feel about where I am at this point in my career.
Yeah.
As an abstract painter. And the irony of all of that, in a way, just like it was ironic and unpredictable that Julie Nolan would walk into my room when I was in the hospital.
Yeah.
All the same unpredictability occurred because as I did more painting, I wanted to know what else was out there in art.
Yeah.
And I came across the Bridgette Meyer Gallery in Philadelphia. Out to you, and this was probably a year and a half or longer ago.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I'd like to meet you and have you look at what I'm doing and tell me what you think. And we had a nice brief conversation. I don't know where you were with, I think you had, I don't know whether you had given birth to your son at that point in time.
Yeah.
You were in Florida. And then out of the blue, I get an announcement from your massive email list of an invitation to participate in the art MBA program.
Yeah.
So in December, I forget exactly when the first conference call was.
It was the end of November, right before Thanksgiving.
So I was on that call and every other call since then. And I've watched you preach the creation and business and self-preservation of art and artists. And you've done that with palpable sincerity. And as I've sat back, and I've never asked a question on the Art MBA conference calls, because what other artists ask, you know?
Right?
You have covered a tremendous amount of basic fundamental business skills and personal improvement skills and how to deal with your mindset. And showcase people who have added color to that. And you're spot on because, in a way, you've hooked me into now adventuring into the creation of a social media persona,
Yeah.
which is
Yes.
I never would have done before.
Yep.
So here I am sticking my foot into the water, and for a mature adult, and I'm not going to divulge my age. I'm 76. For me, I'm a late learner about social media.
Yep. You're not alone. There are people that are on this call right now that are in the same boat.
And I'll tell you, I'm not a good futurist, but I'm smart enough to know since we've all been quarantined, the whole world is enormously more social media aware than they were ever before.
They are.
So
Yeah.
everything for a reason, and I'm glad I'm in that part of my learning curve. I'm a lifelong learner, Bridgette, like you are, and many others. And it's very exciting. Very exciting.
Well, you guys, Dr. G has created a website and he's been working on it, and it's I recommend you check it out. drjamesgeorgeart.com. And
no, Bridgette, it's
say it again.
Dr. and that's DOCTOR George, one word, art. Dr. George Art.com.
Yes. And we'll put the link. I'll have Courtney put the link for everyone, and I recommend you check it out. And then I also want to know, for everyone here to connect in with you, what is your Instagram handle?
My Instagram handle is Dr. DOCTOR George.art on Instagram.
So you guys click in and check it out. I just want to say a couple things, and one is that you know, not a lot of artists actually reach out to gallery owners, and anytime I get a personable, well-written email that has interesting images in it, I pretty much look at everything that comes into my inbox. And I was really impressed by Dr. G's email. We had a call after that, and I loved hearing about his story, and I really wanted to stay connected with him. And going back to our conversation about marketing recently, I was saying that I added him to my artist email list so that I could stay in touch with him and share. I send out announcements a couple times a year of juried and curated shows I'm working on, or if there's an opportunity for artists to sell their art or for me to curate it. So I wanted to put him on my email update list to get opportunity updates. And so I was delighted when I heard back from him that he was going to jump into Art MBA. And so I think, I hope that some of you might feel some encouragement that if there's a good gallery out there that you want to connect with, don't hesitate to send an email and put yourself out there. And Make it about excitement and connection rather than about rejection. And life is this journey. We're all meeting each other, and you never know where your relationships with people are going to go or what's going to come out of them. And I think this conversation is a great example of that. How does it feel to be on social media? What are your friends and family? What do they think about you? What are they saying?
I think they're excited in a way, and I'm excited, but I'm a relatively conservative person, which is tough to believe. Some people think, but so I'm trying to be careful and thoughtful about it, and it's different. I mean, it's a completely different thing. But you meet so many. I mean, Instagram for me has been a connector with so many other artists. It's you could spend your whole day creating arts Instagram.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to share with the group and have you talk about a little bit is that through you creating your page and dialing in on Instagram, that you've spent some time looking at other artists' portfolios. And Dr. G has recently shared with me that he has purchased several works of art from finding people on Instagram. And could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. One of the artists that I take an interest in is on Instagram, and his name is Matt Marquis, Marquis, and his Instagram handle is the.marquis, and he creates kind of bizarre figures, and
They look like Picasso faces. They remind me of Picasso.
Yes, but
Yeah.
there's another, and John's gonna grab my painting,
Great.
which is named Big Fat Joey. and there's another artist who's a very established artist named George Kondo.
Yes.
Now,
Yep.
I have not met him. I think he's a living artist, and he takes images of people and he fractures them in very creative ways. And to a certain extent, Matt Marquis also does a similar thing. So John is bringing Big Fat Joey here so everybody can see it.
I love it. What attracted you to the painting? I just want to know what was in your mind. Everyone always has some point of connection with the work of art.
I'll tell you, it's in a weird way, I was attracted to this color background. I like backgrounds that are completely painted. And even though the use of the white background on a canvas or paper can work in some instances, I like this color. I mean, it's a very, to me, soft yet vivid color red. Then the image was relatively bizarre, but Matt Marquis has even more bizarre images, and I never could relate to them so much, but this one just struck me. I'd like to have that original oil painting on canvas.
Wow,
So
that's great. Thank you for sharing that. I see multiple personalities in that painting.
That's right. And multiple faces, kind of.
I love it.
And I'll tell you one more.
Go ahead.
Kate the Earthling. And K, and she goes, her handle is the letter K and the number 8. The Earthling. And Kate is another artist from Philadelphia. Her art is preserved moss creations. She does big sizes and smaller sizes. And I'd never seen plant vegetation as art.
Yeah.
So that was an interesting point for me. So I purchased one of her paintings. Now I have other paintings, too, that I purchased along the way. Just quick, do we have 1 minute? We'll grab one more.
We have more than 1 minute.
What's the lady in Woodbury?
I think back here, John.
John, it's against yes.
Yeah, right there.
Hey,
Dr. G, while he's grabbing your art, did you ever imagine you'd be on Instagram looking at artists and buying art from seeing it on Instagram?
no. And just trying to like tone me down. So this is,
Oh,
this-
wow.
oh my goodness. But get the other one with the
Wow.
light shining on this woman. So this painting, this artist lived a couple of blocks from me in Woodbury. I think that's it, John. The boat it's to your left, right? That's it. Bring that over because that's people who've seen this are attracted by it as well.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'll get her name. I think she passed away last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And an interesting person. She actually was considered odd originally, but it's amazing how much art she created,
Yeah.
including, what's the name? Marissa? You know, I'm still blocking it. I'll get the name though.
Yeah, no worries. I mainly wanted for you to share your experience of art collecting as an artist. And I know a lot of artists who collect art, and sometimes for me, it's even more gratifying when an artist collects art than a non-artist. And I'm amazed that, again, it's the power of social media and having your work out there and people connecting in with it. It really shows that.
Very powerful.
Yeah, because you found the first two artists you showed us, you found them on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then I think you called them and had a phone call with them, right? To talk about their art. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a third artist on Instagram who has done some beautiful work. I haven't bought one of her paintings yet, but that'll come. I'm trying to like control my need to spend on other people's art.
Yeah. Why is buying art important for you personally?
Well, it's a very subjective thing.
Yeah.
I never really had an urge to collect other people's art, but it's just part of the evolution of my experience that I'm letting happen in as natural a way as possible.
Yeah.
Part of the whole experience, the journey.
Yeah. I would love for you to talk about the painting that's directly behind you. I love the palette of that painting, and the marks are very confident and also very energetic. There's a very positive, I see it as positive energy. And for you guys, Dr. G has some videos on his website showing him making his art. So maybe you could talk about your process in making that painting.
Well, I will say this is the biggest size that I've attempted. What size? Is that 5 by 6?
5 by 6.
Challenge. First, we painted the background because I like painted backgrounds, and I like to layer color on color. And the dark secret is my best stroke is a left to right arc.
Ooh.
That's what mechanically took place in those various iterations. So that's how, and I have two paintings, not identical by any stretch, but similar, which hang in the new emergency department at Inspira Hospital in Mullica Hill, New Jersey.
Yeah.
About paintings are hanging in the emergency department. And one other painting, that painting on the wall that looks like me. The thing for that was one of my colleagues at Inspira Medical Center introduced me to her friend whose name is Natalie Italiano. And Natalie has been a longtime faculty member at Studio Incaminati in Philadelphia.
Yes.
And she trained early on in her career with a portrait artist by the name of Jenks. I'm blocking his name. He's been deceased now for a number of years. But for that painting, she painted me, and and we went. She took a number of photographs of me in this area in my studio, and she wanted to have some of my art hanging or portrayed in. And the other thing is, my most comfortable attire are shorts. I like turtlenecks,
Yes.
and I'm a physician.
Yeah.
She had to put
Wow.
she had to put those elements together in that portrait.
Wow.
And that portrait now hangs in its original oil form in the emergency department at Inspira Medical Center, Mullica Hill, our newest hospital.
So Dr. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing the story. And I love seeing your art in the actual painting. I think that's fun. And you're holding on to some art too. What could you share with the group? I want to give, from your mindset, some top tips to artists from how you've created success in your life. I know from talking to you over many hours, you have an incredibly positive outlook on everything around you. And you also are very funny. You add a lot of humor to everything. And every time we talk, I'm laughing. And I love that. And I think it's a way that people feel good around you. But I'm just curious, I want to know some of the things that you've thought about over the years that have made you successful, if you could share.
Well, my father, who had an 8th grade education, along the way, he encouraged me and coached me to not be afraid of challenges. And that included teaching me how to swim at the YMCA in Detroit, Michigan, and diving off the 3-meter board. I mean, we're talking 9 feet up.
Wow.
The psychic trauma that lives with me to this day. But he was definitely a role model for me. He made me feel in a masculine way that I could succeed at anything I chose to do. And that kind of upbringing is critical. Not everybody has that privilege in their lives. And I know a lot of people who have been injured by their childhood and their perhaps unhealthy relationships in their personal families. And that's just the tragic reality of human existence. And so I did not have that experience. So I always my custom was to expose myself to some risk, not crazy risk.
Yeah.
Some risk and the challenge of surpassing that risk. So that's how I've lived my life. And plus, I love learning. And for me, that's a lifetime event, learning.
Yeah.
And along the way, I've come to love people. And I look for the best in people.
Yeah.
You know, my philosophy is you can't hurt me. And if you try to hurt me, you're going to have to kill me.
Mm, wow.
and
Powerful.
That's a deep-seated reality for me. But I look for the good in people. I love to see how other people's minds work. I love to people watch. People watching is a wonderful pastime. But I really enjoy everybody I meet. And I look for the best parts of them because I want to learn what makes them tick. And I'd like to embrace those things and incorporate them into my life.
Wow.
And endless journey. So.
Gosh, you know what? I love what you shared about how you think you can't hurt me, because I think there is a lot of fear that artists have, and they don't want to put themselves out there and take chances. And you're an example of someone that keeps putting yourself out there, and a lot of incredible things are happening for you. I read a book that I mentioned to you recently by a guy from India named Seth, and it's called Inner Engineering. And he talks about something similar. He talks about how, you know, a lot of times people are walking around letting other people affect how they feel every day or what they're doing or not doing. And that if you want ultimate freedom, the ultimate freedom is to only let you, yourself, your one person, affect how you're going to feel that day and what you're going to do or not do that day. Anything else is a form of slavery, being a slave to other people and what they expect from you or what they want from you. So I love your philosophy. And I also, it's such a reminder to keep putting yourself out there. And I love what you said earlier, how for you, there's a little bit of excitement in the unknown with you're going to hang a piece of art in a major lobby of a building, and you're not sure what people are going to think about it, but that's kind of exciting. And I think it's exciting because we always get these really interesting things that come out of it, whether it's commissions or new clients or interactions with that art. And it only happens when you put yourself out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have a minute or two more?
Yeah, I do. And then we also have some questions coming in that the audience wants to know. So go ahead.
Another ironic coincidence is the fact that probably 30 years ago, and I could be chronologically off, I discovered Tony Robbins.
Yes.
Tony Robbins has always been a major influencer. And that's his business. That's his gift. And I have his old videotapes.
Yes.
And he disappeared from the scene, or he went radio silent for a brief period of time. I don't know exactly what happened, but my daughter Abby recently retired from a peer learning group in New York named Tiger 21.
Yes.
And Robbins was a speaker at one of their national programs a year ago.
Yeah.
And had Tony send me a video message of encouragement. And the theme of his message to me was about resiliency and how adverse things can create positive outcomes and
Yes.
new opportunities. And that really spoke to me. And I mentioned that to you, and I showed you a little video clip, and you shared that you knew of the Tony Robbins impact as well.
Talk about someone that's made an impact on the world and continues to. Tony's in his mid-50s, and I credit him for helping me make my first $1 million, for just coming in contact with one of his first books, Awaken the Giant Within. I started learning about coaching, and I took on a business coach, and my business skyrocketed. I met my future husband, who used to be one of his speakers, Tarek Johnson. I've had employees and family and artists and friends. I've gifted them tickets to go to his Unleash the Power Within event. He's someone that has literally changed my life, and I consider him a mentor, one of the most kind-hearted, generous people out there right now. And the fact that you and I have both been impacted by him in different worlds, talking about it now is proof that when you're out to change humanity and make a difference and make an impact, no matter what field you're in, and when you're coming from a place of adding value and service to people around you, only good things are going to come out of that. And this is a time right now where a lot of people are trying to get in touch with what's important to them as artists and makers and creators. And the ability to make a change in the world and do some really powerful, deep work that can change people and add value is really amazing. And if people want to see that video, Dr. G has a YouTube channel. And what is it called? What's your website or your YouTube page?
That's a very good question.
Well, it's on your website. It's on his website, and I'll have Courtney link it. I'll have Courtney link it in the notes here for everyone. It's a really great video. And if people haven't been to a Tony Robbins event, I think you should go to one. I have the feeling, Dr. G, that you and I will end up at a Tony Robbins event together with Tarek and some other good friends. I have a feeling we'll be doing that.
Make that happen. That's exciting.
Yeah. Well, I would love to hear what the audience wants to know from Dr. G. Courtney, I know you're sitting there enjoying this. So what is everyone saying out there in the group?
Yeah, so everyone finds your story just very inspirational. Several people relate with their own, health issues and finding art with art healing. Actually, there's a comment from a classmate of yours from medical school. His name's John Jackson, and he said that he didn't have any knowledge of you being in law school at the same time, and that you were one of three from their class from the East who fit in with the Kentucky boys, and that your attitude since your injury is unchanged from the positive person that you were then, and that you were just a joy to be around. So I thought that was really cool that a former classmate came in to say hi. He also had a question about, is that your basement in your home, your studio?
Yes, exactly. And Bob, show them so they can see that there is an outside.
Wow. Hey, Dr. G, what do you want to say to John Jackson, your classmate, who is sharing with all of us that your positive attitude then and now is still consistently the same? I love that.
Listen, John, now I was a Detroiter, right, who went to college in New York City, which was traumatic enough, okay? And so I go to the University of Louisville Medical School, and early on, we walk into the cadaver lab, and there in the corner working on their cadaver is John Jackson and Lloyd Caudle and a couple of other classmates. And that's when I first began my learning about the level of intelligence of men and women from the South.
Wow.
Hard people. And John was always an impressive guy, an impressive medical student. I think he served in the Coast Guard after medical school. And John is a lover of music.
Oh, that's so great. Well, welcome, John, into Art MBA. I'm so glad to know that one of Dr. G's friends and colleagues is in with us. Thank you for sharing that. Courtney, what else we got?
So there's a couple of questions about you finding artists through Instagram. They want to know how you do that. And then once you find an artist, what is the interaction like? How do you like connect with them to buy art? Do you send them a personal message?
I love that question.
You know, when you're on Instagram, and I think it's good for a lot of people, a lot of creatives to be on Instagram because the stimulation is endless. And when you see other presentations by other creatives, they always have a number of hashtags,
Yes.
including hashtag. So if you click on their hashtag, now you go into their world. And some are private and you can't get directly into it. You have to ask to be let in, but others are very public and you can see all of their work and you can get a sense of their personality. It's very easy to navigate Instagram, it really is.
Dr. G, are you like, for the marquee artist, did you type in figurative art or did you just find him through scrolling?
He just appeared.
He appeared. Okay.
Yeah. That's the magic of Instagram.
Yes.
You know, Instagram and
Insta.
Facebook are all about artificial intelligence. They know more than us than we want to admit.
Right. And then how was the interaction? Were you reaching out to them through their websites that are usually on their, you know, where their name is, and then setting up a call? How did you navigate that?
What happens is when you go into their website, direct message them.
Yeah.
Called a DM, and they'll often say DM me, because then your inquiry, your introduction of yourself to them is not seen by the whole rest of the interactive Instagram family. So that connects you directly to them. And then you can raise the question, is your art for sale? Do you offer an artist discount?
I love that question. Artists should get a discount from a artist.
Right, yeah. So.
Well, and Dr. G shared with me recently that he's currently growing his Instagram page and is definitely welcoming comments from everyone about his paintings and what they think about his art. When he posts a couple of pieces a week, he's being very diligent about creating communications with people, and I think he's a good role model to share how to grow that. So for any of you that want to connect with him, he probably spends the most of his time right now on Instagram.
Yes, and Bridgette, I've mentioned Bob and John, who spend a lot of personal time with me. I also want to give a shout out to Colette Beatrix, who's a new part-time assistant with me and a full-time architect student at Drexel. And also a shout out to Elizabeth Allen, who recently graduated from Temple School of Art and who begins her postgraduate work in Drexel's Art Therapy Master's Program. So they're both working with me and you as we probe further into social media.
Hey, Dr. G, what is it like having an art coach?
You're my art coach, and I'll tell you, and I shared this with you before, that when you have a relationship with a mentor, a coach, you don't want to ignore what they're sharing with you. You don't want to disappoint the teacher.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
our relationship has really been extremely positive, And that's kind of put me in a process of discovery of the social media world.
Yeah.
So it's all good. It's all good. I'd recommend it to anybody.
Do you have any,
especially.
thank you so much. You know, you work really hard, and you're someone that Dr. G has built a team around him. And he has people that are helping him with various things, and he's working with some really talented younger art students that they're also learning a lot. So it's really fun to watch the whole process.
Yes, and listen, the last shout out I'll give is to my wife, Mary, my two daughters, Abby and Alexis, and my son, Jim.
Wow.
Jim is my rock. Many ways that I choose to not describe to the world at large. But when you have certain disabilities, you need relationships that support you. And I have that from my son, Jim, and from John and Bob.
Well, you bring up a good point, and that is appreciation and gratitude for your family, your people around you that love and support you and only want to see the best. And I think all of us in our lives have people that are helping us be our best selves and live our best life and have these art careers that we have, whether it's a spouse and extended family. And so it's a reminder that all of us can continue to support each other. And that's part of the purpose of this community, to give people educational, a fun, a safe place to come to learn and to grow, and to connect and love each other and look at each other's artwork. So I hope all of you will connect in with Dr. G on Instagram and send him some messages, and I'm sure he'll respond back. And Dr. G, thank you so much for your time and sharing your story with our audience, and giving a lot of people some ideas to chew on and get motivated around. So if any of you are having excuses on why you can't do anything in your life right now or your career, dip your toe in, get a little bit excited and maybe scared, and follow Dr. G's model, which is you can't hurt me. So I love that. So I hope you have a great day.
I thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye.